The alarm goes off at 1:30 in the morning. You are already awake. Not because you knew it was coming. You did not know. You were awake because you are a light sleeper, and the station has sounds at night, and sometimes a sound pulls you up from sleep before you know what sound it was. You are sitting on the edge of your bunk when the alarm sounds, already half-dressed, your boots on the floor in front of you. The call comes in at the same moment. Fire at the nuclear power plant. Reactor building roof. You pull on your boots. This is your job. You have been doing this job for 3 years. You know fires. You know roofs. You know what burning insulation smells like, and what burning tar smells like, and what burning electrical equipment smells like. You know how to read a fire from 50 meters away and know whether it is going to spread and how fast and in what direction. You do not know what a nuclear fire smells like. Nobody does. Nobody told you this one would be different. You pull on your coat. You get on the truck. It is 1:30 in the morning, and it is April, and the air outside is cool and clean, and you can see stars above the road, and the truck is moving, and you are doing what you were trained to do. Nobody told you. That is the thing. Nobody told you. This is a story about the men who came first, not the engineers, not the officials, not the scientists who would arrive in the following days to measure and assess and calculate. The firefighters, the men who received the call at 1:30 in the morning and were at the plant by 1:45, who climbed to the roof of the reactor building and began fighting a fire that was unlike any fire they had ever encountered, using the equipment and the training and the knowledge that their profession had given them. The knowledge was not enough. Not because they were inadequate, because nobody had given them the right knowledge. The firefighters of the Chernobyl and Pripyat stations were not told that the reactor had exploded. They were told there was a fire, a serious fire, a fire on the roof of the reactor building. And they went to fight it the way they would fight any serious fire on any roof, with hoses and determination and the physical courage that their work required of them every time the alarm went off. They picked up pieces of graphite with their bare hands. The graphite had come from inside the reactor core. It was intensely radioactive. The firefighters did not know this. They moved it out of the way because it was blocking their access to the fire. They moved it the way you move any debris that is in your way, quickly, efficiently, without thinking about it. Most of them were dead within 2 weeks. His name was Vasil Inatenko. He was 25 years old. He had been married for less than a year. His wife Lyudmila was pregnant with their first child. He had been promoted recently and was proud of the promotion. He was, by all accounts, a good man, cheerful, dependable, the kind of person who made the shift easier just by being there. He climbed to the roof of reactor number 4 at approximately 2 in the morning of April 26, 1986. He was dead 14 days later. In this story, you are Vasil. The truck is moving. The night air is coming through the window, and ahead of you, the sky over the plant is glowing. In this story, you are the firefighter. The alarm has sounded. The truck is moving. Everything you know about your job is true. The thing nobody told you is also true. Both of these things are going to be true at the same time tonight. You became a firefighter because of your father. He was one too, not at a nuclear plant. At the city station in Kiev, where he spent 30 years going to ordinary fires in ordinary buildings and came home smelling of smoke and was proud of his work in the quiet way of men who do physical things with their bodies for a living. He never talked about it much. What he did instead was show you. He took you to the station when you were small and let you sit in the truck, and he showed you what the equipment did and how it worked and why it mattered. And something about that day, the smell of the station and the weight of the hose in your small hands and the way your father looked in his uniform, lodged itself somewhere permanent. You applied at 18. The Chernobyl posting came 3 years ago. It was considered a good posting, stable, well-equipped. The nuclear plant was a large employer, and the associated fire station was correspondingly well-funded. Better trucks than the city stations. Better gear. The plant had its own safety culture, its own protocols, its own way of doing things. You learned the protocols. You fit into the culture. You made friends. Petya is your closest friend at the station. He is 23, younger than you, from a small town outside Zhytomyr. He has a habit of whistling under his breath when he is thinking. A specific tuneless whistle that drove you mad in the first month, and now you barely hear it. He is on your shift. He will be on the truck tonight. Your wife Lyudmila has packed you food for the night shift. This is something she started doing after you got married. Before that, you ate whatever the station had, which was usually acceptable, but not exciting. Now, she sends food and the other men on your shift eat whatever is in the container, and there are opinions about what Lyudmila makes, and there is a running debate about whether her vareniki are better than Petya's mother's, and the debate has not been resolved, and may never be resolved. You ate the vareniki tonight. Before the alarm, you thought about her while you ate them. You had spoken to her that afternoon, before the shift, and she had told you that the baby was moving, and that she had picked out a name if it was a boy, and she was not going to tell you the name yet, because she wanted to wait until she was sure. You said, "Tell me anyway." She said no. You said, "Please." She laughed. That was 5 hours ago. You have been a firefighter for 3 years, and in 3 years you have been to many fires. Apartment fires, car fires, factory fires, a warehouse fire that burned for 2 days and made the news. You know what fire does. You know what it smells like and sounds like, and what it feels like to be close to it. The specific heat of it, the way it moves. You have been burned twice. Small burns, the kind that leave marks. You have never been seriously hurt. You have always come home. Tonight you will leave the station, and you will not come home in the way that matters. The sky is wrong. You see it before the plant comes into view. A glow above the tree line. Orange-red, the color of a large fire, but too high and too wide. Fires make light above them, but this light is higher than it should be, extending further into the sky than the glow of even a large building fire. You watch it from the truck window as the road curves toward the plant. Petya sees it too. He stops whistling. Neither of you says anything about the glow. This is a thing about experienced firefighters. They read what they see, but they do not narrate it aloud on the way to the call, because narrating it takes energy and assumes facts that are not confirmed, and confirmed facts are what the work requires. You observe, you arrive, you assess, then you act. The truck turns onto the plant road. The plant is large. You have driven this road many times on routine inspection runs, and the plant's scale has become familiar. The way things become familiar when you see them every day. The cooling towers, the reactor buildings, the administrative buildings, the layout that you know as well as the layout of the station. Tonight the layout is wrong. The roof line of reactor number 4 is wrong. You see this as you pull up. There is sky where the roof should be. Not a hole in the roof. The roof is simply gone. In its place, open sky and the glow of something burning at the center of what used to be the reactor building's top section. You have seen roofs collapse in fires. This does not look like a roof that collapsed. This looks like a roof that was removed from the outside. The truck stops. Major Telyatnikov is there. He is the shift commander from the Chernobyl plant station. He arrived minutes before you. He is looking up at the building with the specific expression of a senior firefighter assessing a large incident. The expression that takes in everything and shows nothing, because showing something is not useful right now. He says, "Roof is gone. Fire on the bitumen. Get up there. You go up." The roof of a reactor building. You have been trained for high-angle firefighting. You have done roof work before. The mechanics of it are not new to you. The ladder, the hose, the careful movement across a surface that may not be fully stable, the awareness of what is below you and how much weight it can hold. These things you know, what you do not know, what nobody has told you. It is that the ground around the building is covered in pieces of graphite from inside the reactor core, and that the roof you are climbing toward is itself covered in this material, and that this material is the most radioactive substance you have ever been near. You climb the ladder. You are good at your job. This is what your job looks like tonight. The roof is hot. Not hot the way a roof is hot from sun exposure. Hot the way surfaces are hot when fire has been near them or through them. The bitumen, the thick tar-like material that seals flat roofs against weather, is soft in places. Your boots sink slightly with each step. You test the surface before you commit to it. The instinct of someone who has walked on burned roofs before and knows that what looks solid sometimes is not. The fires are in several places. The bitumen is burning where the hot debris from the explosion landed. Pieces of the reactor building's structure, metal and concrete, fell onto the roof, and where they landed, the bitumen caught. You can see 4 or 5 separate fires from where you are standing. Small fires, most of them, manageable. This is the assessment your brain makes. Manageable fires, good access. Team on hand, no structural collapse in your immediate vicinity. You begin working. The hose is heavy. It is always heavy. This is a thing civilians do not understand about firefighting. The weight of it. The hose full of water. The gear. The tank, if you have one, moving across a difficult surface in conditions of heat and smoke and urgency. Your body knows this weight. Your shoulders and your arms and your legs have been doing this work for 3 years, and they know what is required. Petya is working the line beside you. You can hear him breathing hard. The effort of it. The specific sound of a man doing physical work at his limit. The breathing that is controlled but loud. The breath that is working. You work. The fires come down, one by one. The water hits the burning bitumen and the bitumen stops burning. It is working. This is a working firefight. You are making progress. The smoke is reducing. The glow that was visible from the truck is starting to diminish in the sections where your team has been. There is debris on the roof, dark pieces of something, heavy. You have to work around them. Some of them you push aside with your boot or with the hose to clear a path. Some you pick up and move. They are heavy for their size. Denser than concrete. Dark, gray, almost black. You do not know what they are. You do not think about what they are. You think about the fire. The pieces on the roof are from the reactor core. Graphite blocks, moderator material. The same material that was inside the reactor 20 minutes ago. Each piece is intensely radioactive. The radiation coming from the piece in your hand right now is enough to cause severe biological damage in minutes of exposure. You are not holding it for minutes. You are moving it out of your way and continuing to work. But you have picked up several pieces. Petya has picked up several. Telyatnikov has picked up several. Every firefighter on this roof tonight has handled this material without knowing what it is. Nobody told you what it was. The call said fire. You came to fight a fire. After about 20 minutes on the roof, you notice something. A taste. Metallic. Like a coin on the tongue. Like blood almost, but not blood. Something else. You have tasted blood before, from a split lip, from a bite. This is similar, but not the same. It arrives suddenly and it stays. You do not mention it. Petya notices you stop for a moment. He looks at you. You shake your head. Keep working. 5 minutes later, your skin. The exposed skin on your face and hands begins to feel different. Not burned, not the sharp immediate pain of a burn. Something deeper than the skin. An ache that is below the surface, in the tissue underneath. As if the skin is being pressed from the inside. You have never felt this before. In 3 years of firefighting, in every fire, in every situation, you have never felt this specific thing. Your training covers burns. Your training covers smoke inhalation. Your training covers the symptoms of heat exhaustion. Your training does not cover this. You finish the section you are working on. You move to the next section. The ache continues. A nausea begins at the back of your throat. Not the nausea of smoke. You know that nausea. You have had it before. The thick, rolling, sick feeling of inhaled combustion products working through your system. This nausea is different, quieter, more fundamental. It sits lower in the body than smoke nausea. It does not come in waves. It is simply there. Present. You swallow it down. You keep working. This is what you do. This is what every person in this profession does when the body sends a signal that is inconvenient. You note it, and you keep working, and you deal with it when the work is done. The work is not done. Major Telyatnikov is also feeling it. He will say so later, in interviews, in testimony. He noticed the metallic taste. He noticed his skin. He noticed that some of the men on the roof were moving differently than they had been moving when they arrived, a subtle difference. The body beginning to redirect resources. The first biological response to a threat that the conscious mind has not yet categorized. He kept the men working. He did not have information that would have changed that decision. If someone had told him the material on the roof was from the reactor core, he would have pulled everyone off immediately. Nobody told him. You are on the roof for approximately 2 hours. When Telyatnikov finally orders everyone down, the main fires on the roof are under control. Not out, under control. There are still burning sections. There are still things that need to be done. But the initial response, the part where you stop the fire from spreading, where you knock down the worst of it, where you establish that the situation is not going to deteriorate further, that part is done. You come down the ladder. Your legs are not entirely reliable coming down. They were reliable going up. You notice the difference. Your legs have been reliable for 25 years, and they are less reliable now than they were 2 hours ago. You grip the ladder carefully. You come down one rung at a time. At the bottom, Petya is waiting. He is sitting on the ground, not resting. Firefighters do not sit on the ground after a job. That is not the posture of rest. That is the posture of a body that has decided sitting is necessary right now. You go to him. You sit beside him. Neither of you speaks for a moment. He says, "I feel strange." You say, "Me too." He says, "What kind of strange?" You say, "I do not know." This is honest. You do not know what kind of strange. You have a vocabulary for how you feel after difficult fires. Exhausted, smoky, burned in specific places, adrenaline done. These are known feelings with known names. This feeling does not have a name in your vocabulary. It is strange in a way that is outside the categories. An ambulance is there. Several ambulances. More than you would expect for a fire of this size. The medics are moving quickly. They are taking men who came off the roof and checking them, and some of the men are being put into the ambulances, and the ambulances are leaving. A medic comes to you. He checks your eyes. He asks questions. He does not explain why he is asking the questions he is asking. He writes something down. He says, "You will go to the hospital in Pripyat. As a precaution." You say, "I am fine." He says, "As a precaution, you get into the ambulance." The ambulance takes you to Medical Unit 126 in Pripyat. It is the closest hospital. The doctors there have been called in from their homes in the middle of the night. They are doing what doctors do when they have limited information, treating the symptoms they can see, asking questions, taking notes. There are more than a dozen firefighters arriving at the hospital in the next hour. But the doctors do not yet know what caused the symptoms. The plant authorities have not told them. The doctors are good doctors doing their best with what they have been given. What they have been given is not the truth. The hospital is bright. All hospitals are bright at night. the fluorescent lights indifferent to the hour, running on the logic that medical work does not stop for darkness. You are put in a bed. The bed has clean sheets. You lie back and close your eyes, and the brightness comes through your eyelids as a red. Your skin is burning now, not from external heat, from inside. The sensation has moved past the ache that started on the roof and into something that is more clearly uncomfortable, more clearly wrong. The skin on your face and hands has a look to it. You saw it in the bathroom mirror before they put you to bed. A redness that is not sunburn and not heat burn, but something in between. A redness that comes from below the surface. They give you something for the nausea. The nausea does not stop. It reduces slightly and then returns. Your body is not done with the nausea. The nausea has information it still wants to deliver, and it is going to deliver it, regardless of what the medication says. Petya is in the next bed. He is quieter than usual. The whistling that normally fills the spaces in his presence is completely gone. He is lying on his back, looking at the ceiling with an expression you have not seen on his face before, an expression that is trying to figure something out and not getting there. You say, "Petya," he says. "Yeah." You say, "You okay?" He says, "No, this is enough." You both know this is enough. There is nothing more useful to say, and so you do not say more. A doctor comes. He is young, younger than you expected. He has the look of someone who has been called out of sleep and is now in the specific state of managing a situation that exceeds his training. And he asks questions about the fire. Where were you? How long? What did you touch? He writes everything down. You tell him about the graphite. You tell him you were picking up dark pieces of something, heavy, dense, moving them out of the way. The doctor's pen stops. He asks you to describe the pieces. You describe them. He writes something down and excuses himself and does not come back for a while. At 3 in the morning, Lyudmila calls the station. She cannot sleep. This happens sometimes. She knows when you are on a difficult call, she says. She feels it. The man who answers the phone tells her you have been taken to the hospital as a precaution and that there is nothing to worry about. She hangs up and sits on the edge of the bed and does not sleep. She will come to the hospital in the morning. She will not leave you after that. And she will stay beside you through what comes next for as long as she is allowed, and when they tell her she must leave for her own safety, she will find ways to stay anyway. This is who she is. This is who you married. You are in this hospital bed, and she is sitting on the edge of your bed at home, and you are both awake, and you are thinking about her, and she is thinking about you. 2 days later, they move you to Moscow. Not because you are improving, because the hospital in Pripyat is not equipped for what you have. The doctors there have done what they can do, and what they can do is not sufficient, and Moscow has hospital number 6, and hospital number 6 has experience with radiation injuries that no local hospital has. The flight is short. You have never flown before. This is a strange fact. 25 years old, Ukrainian, a firefighter, and you have never been on a plane. You always meant to. You and Lyudmila talked about taking a trip somewhere with a beach. She likes the sea. You would have figured out the money eventually. You look out the plane window at Ukraine below you. The fields, the rivers, the roads. From up here, the country is a pattern of green and brown and the silver of water. And it is beautiful in the flat, factual way that things are beautiful when you are seeing them clearly and without agenda. You wonder if Lyudmila can see the plane. She cannot. You know she cannot. The plane is too high and too small. But you look down at the landscape as if looking hard enough might let you see her, standing somewhere below, looking up. Moscow is gray when you land. Spring in Moscow is different from spring in Ukraine. In Ukraine, the spring comes in a rush. The warmth arrives and the green comes up fast, and the whole countryside transforms. Moscow's spring is more reluctant, more careful. The gray hangs around longer. Hospital number 6 is a concrete building. The room they give you is small and clean. The nurses are efficient and quiet. There are other men here from Chernobyl. You can hear them through the walls sometimes. You do not talk to them. There is not much to say that would be useful. Petya is in a room nearby. You know this because one of the nurses mentions it when you ask. You ask her to tell him you asked. She says she will. Whether she does, you never find out. The doctors come and go. They check things, they write things down. They speak to each other in the doorway in voices too low to hear. You understand what they are not telling you, the same way you understood on the roof that something was wrong before you had the words for it. The body knows before the mind admits it. You have always been good at reading situations quickly. You are reading this one now. She arrives on the third day. You hear her before you see her, her voice in the corridor, asking which room. The nurse trying to explain visiting restrictions. Lyudmila, not accepting the restrictions. This is exactly what you would have predicted, if you had predicted it. Lyudmila has a specific relationship with rules she considers unreasonable, which is that she acknowledges their existence and then finds a way around them. She comes through the door. She looks at you. Her face does the thing that faces do when they are trying not to show what they are feeling and are not entirely succeeding. She crosses the room and she takes your hand. Her hand is warm. You had forgotten somehow, in the days in the hospital, how warm another person's hand feels. Your hands have been cold since the roof. Not cold in temperature, exactly. Cold in the way that things feel cold when the heat has left them for reasons other than temperature. Her hand is warm. You hold it. She says, "You look terrible." You say, "You look beautiful." She says, "Stop." You say, "It is true." She sits in the chair beside the bed. She does not let go of your hand. She talks. She talks the way she always talks, when she is keeping herself from crying. Quickly, filling the space, the news from home, what your mother said, what the neighbors said, the small updates from a life that is continuing without you in it. You listen, not to the words exactly, to the voice. The specific music of her voice that you have been hearing for 2 years, since you met, since the party at her cousin's apartment where you talked until 2 in the morning and went home and could not sleep. The voice. You close your eyes. Now you keep holding her hand. The doctors have told her something, not everything. Enough. She knows the word radiation. She knows it is serious. She does not know the numbers, the specific measurements that the doctors have made and recorded, and are not sharing with the patients or their families in full. She knows enough to understand why the nurse tried to limit her visit. She knows enough to understand what the restrictions are protecting her from. She is 4 months pregnant. She knows what radiation can do to a pregnancy. She comes back every day anyway. The days in hospital number 6 have a rhythm. Nurses in the morning, doctors, the specific sounds of a hospital ward, the carts, the footsteps, the low voices, the distant sounds of other patients. You have always been a person of movement, of the physical world, of the station and the truck and the work that uses the body. Lying in a bed is not native to you. Your body does not accept it easily, or it did not accept it easily in the first days. Now, your body accepts it. This acceptance is not improvement. The body accepts the bed because the body no longer has the energy to resist it. The resources that were being used for movement and resistance are being used for other things now, more necessary things. The internal accounting of an organism that has sustained serious damage and is trying to decide what to prioritize. Now your hair is going. This is one of the things they prepared you for, the doctors. One of the few things they told you directly. Radiation affects the cells that grow quickly, they said, and hair cells grow quickly. You looked in the mirror this morning, and you looked like someone who has been ill. That is what you look like. Someone who has been ill. You think about the station. You think about who is on shift today, whether they got another truck, whether Petya's replacement is working out, whether the schedule is running correctly. These thoughts are the thoughts of a person who has a place they belong to and is not in it. The station is running without you. This is correct. The station does not stop when a person is absent. The work continues. You think about Lyudmila. She was here yesterday. She will be here tomorrow. She sits beside you and she talks, and sometimes she cries and tries to do it quietly and does not quite succeed, and you pretend not to notice, because it helps her if you pretend not to notice. You are glad she is here. You are glad she exists. In a life that has contracted in these weeks to the size of this room, she is the largest thing, the most real thing. Her hand in yours is the most real thing. Outside this hospital, Chernobyl is becoming something larger than the fire on the roof. The Soviet government has declared a 30-kilometer exclusion zone. Pripyat, the town where you lived, where Lyudmila is still staying because she has nowhere else to go and because she will not leave while you are here, has been evacuated. 50,000 people loaded onto buses and told to take only what they could carry and that they would be back in 3 days. They were not told about the radiation. They were told it was a precaution. The word precaution. It was used a lot in those days. It was the word the system had for, we are not going to tell you the full truth, because the full truth is something we are not ready for you to know. Lyudmila comes on the 12th day. She comes every day, but the 12th day is different. Something in the way she comes through the door. Something in how she sits down and takes your hand and does not immediately start talking the way she usually talks. She is quieter today, more still. You understand what the stillness means. You understand it the same way you understood things on the roof, before you had the words. Before the mind caught up with the body. You say, tell me the name. She looks at you. You say, the name, for the boy. You said you would tell me when you were sure. She is quiet for a moment. She says, Vasil. She says, I want to name him after you. You are quiet. You think about a small person with your name, living in a world you will not be in. A small person going to school with your name. Learning things you will not teach him. Becoming something you will not see. A small person who will know you only from what Lyudmila tells him, from the photographs, from the things that remain after a person is gone. You say, that is a good name. She nods. She is holding your hand very carefully, as if holding it carefully enough will change the pressure on the hand, as if holding it carefully enough will matter. You say, take him somewhere with a beach. She says, what? You say, for a holiday. Somewhere with a beach, he will like the sea. Children like the sea. She says, how do you know he will like the sea? You say, because his mother likes the sea. She does not say anything for a while. You hold her hand. The room is quiet. Outside the window, Moscow is having a spring day. On the 14th day you die. But not the way films show death. Not dramatically, not with final words that have been prepared in advance. You diminish. The body's systems that the radiation destroyed stop holding, one by one, in the specific order that this kind of death takes them. The same process that took Leonid Toptonov. The same process that is taking several of your colleagues in other rooms of this hospital. The process is the same for all of you. What is different is the person going through it. You are 25. You married a woman who loves you. You climbed to the roof of a reactor building because that was your job, and you did your job completely, and you are 25 years old. Lyudmila is in the room when you go. The doctors have stopped trying to make her leave. She has made it clear in the way that she makes things clear that she will not leave, and that arguing about it wastes time that could be used for other things. She is there. She has been there. After, she goes back to Pripyat. The town is evacuated. She is not supposed to be there, but her apartment is there and your things are there, and she goes back anyway, alone, into a town that has been emptied, walking through streets where there is no one, past the school where children were playing when the alarm sounded, past the shops that still have things in the windows, past the fairground where the Ferris wheel was supposed to open for the first time on May 1st and did not open, because by May 1st everyone was gone. She walks through the empty town. Your boots are by the door. You left them there when you went to the station on the last shift. She leaves them there. She does not move them. The baby comes in August. A girl, not a boy. Lyudmila had been so certain it was a boy. She had the name ready. She had planned for a boy. And it is a girl, small and alive, born in August in Kiev. And Lyudmila looks at her for a long time before she speaks. Then she gives her a name. Natasha. The girl lives for 4 hours. The radiation that Lyudmila absorbed in the hospital, in the weeks beside your bed, was enough. The doctors had told her this might happen. She had come back anyway. She would always say that she came back because she could not do anything else, that not coming back was not a thing she was capable of. She lived. Lyudmila lived. She is alive. And she has told this story, your story. The story of the firefighter who went to the roof and did not come back the way he left. She has told it many times, to journalists, to filmmakers, to anyone who would listen, because she believes that knowing what happened is important, that the people who made decisions about what to tell and what not to tell should be answerable for those decisions, that the men on the roof were not careless, that they were not reckless, that they were doing their jobs in conditions they were not given the truth about. The boots are still in the apartment. She has said this. She has never moved the boots. They are by the door, where you left them. Close your eyes. The alarm went off. You went. Nobody told you. You went anyway. That is who you were. A note of history. Vasyl Inatenko was born on March 20th, 1961, in Ivankiv, Ukraine. He joined the Chernobyl nuclear power plant fire brigade and was stationed at the plant's fire station. On the night of April 25th to 26th, 1986, he was part of the first response team that arrived at Unit 4 within minutes of the explosion. He was 25 years old. The first firefighters to arrive at Chernobyl were not told that the reactor had exploded. They were dispatched to fight what was described as a fire on the roof of the reactor building. They were equipped for a standard industrial fire response. Their dosimeters, the instruments that measure radiation exposure, were inadequate for the levels present that night. Several dosimeters simply went off scale immediately and were therefore useless. And the firefighters continued working without accurate information about their exposure. Graphite from the reactor core was scattered across the roof and the surrounding area. The firefighters moved pieces of this graphite with their hands and boots to clear paths for their hoses. Each piece was intensely radioactive. The radiation dose received from handling this material, combined with the general radiation field on the roof of the open reactor, was lethal for many of the men who worked there that night. 28 people died in the weeks following the explosion from acute radiation syndrome, most of them firefighters and plant workers who were present at the scene in the first hours. The firefighters who worked on the reactor roof received among the highest doses. Vasyl Inatenko died on May 13, 1986, at Hospital No. 6 in Moscow. And he was 25 years old. He had been married for less than a year. His wife, Lyudmila Inatenko, stayed by his side in Hospital No. 6 for as long as she was permitted, and found ways to stay longer than she was permitted. She was 4 months pregnant when she arrived. The doctors warned her about the risks of radiation exposure to a developing pregnancy. She stayed. Their daughter, born in August 1986, lived for 4 hours. Doctors attributed the infant's death to the radiation Lyudmila absorbed during her time in the hospital. Lyudmila Inatenko later spoke extensively about her experience to the Belarusian journalist Svetlana Alexievich, whose book Voices from Chernobyl, published in 1997, brought many of these first-hand accounts to international attention. The book, which Alexievich won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2015, it contains Lyudmila's account of her husband and the weeks in the hospital. It is one of the most widely read first-hand accounts of the disaster. Major Leonid Telyatnikov, who commanded the firefighters on the roof that night, also survived. He received a serious radiation dose and underwent treatment in Moscow. He recovered and returned to work. He was awarded the title Hero of the Soviet Union for his leadership during the response. He died in 2004 from cancer. He consistently stated in interviews that he and his men had done their job correctly, given the information they had, and that the information they had was insufficient. The boots Vasil Inatenko left by the door of his apartment in Pripyat were described by Lyudmila in her account. The apartment in the evacuated city of Pripyat was sealed after the evacuation. The city remains inside the exclusion zone. Pripyat is now a ghost city, its buildings decaying, its streets reclaimed by vegetation, visited by tourists who come to see what a city looks like when it has been abandoned suddenly and completely. The fairground Ferris wheel, which was scheduled to open for May Day celebrations in 1986 and never did, is one of the most photographed objects in the exclusion zone. Next, the liquidator. He came months later. He knew what he was walking into. He went anyway.